Hi everybody, it's Paul Harris with Global Recruiters of Blackhawk here in sunny California. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. As you may know, I run an executive search firm that specializes in wireless infrastructure. In the next few minutes, what I want to do is try to do a relatively good job of kind of giving you a quick download of what happened at HetNet Expo down in Southern California last week. So HetNet Expo, you may, I call it the little brother, little sister of PCIA. So it's run by Jonathan Adelstein and his crew, and they always do a great job. So I'm going to kind of try to get you some of the, get the big picture, the themes, and then I want to spend more than a little bit of time just talking about the speech given by Mark Ganzi from Digital Bridge. He always does a phenomenal job, but he especially crushed this one. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that one. So HetNet Expo, it's got the carriers, the tower companies, the vendors, the analysts, etc. The whole nine yards were there. And so let me just kind of give you a real quick bullet points. So number one, a lot of talk about how Verizon has taken the lead dog position in terms of deploying the HetNets, the distributed antenna, the DAS systems, the small cells, etc. They've deployed about 4,000. There's been about 4,000 nodes deployed in the United States, with another 60,000 expected over the next X amount of months. So obviously a lot of growth expected in this, as you know. There's also a lot of talk about who should pay for these for the installation of these, and this is something that I think got going by Alan Tantillos from T-Mobile ages ago, when he basically said, "Hey, I don't think the carrier should have to pay for this. This is ridiculous." And he got a little flack for it, as you know. And then I think everyone's saying, "Hey, I think he might be right." Exactly. So. One of the things that Jonathan Adelstein was talking about is kind of an analogy, which is with a water company. So the water company will bring the water to your building, but no one expects them to install the faucets and the toilets and run the plumbing and stuff like that. With the electric company, the electric company brings the electricity to the building, but they're not expected to put in all the fixtures and the outlets and stuff like that. And so the question is, why is everybody expecting the carrier to pay? They bring the signal to the building. Why are they supposed to then build an whole indoor DAS system for this building? So there's a lot of talk about who's going to pay for it. Should it be the carrier? Should it be the enterprise? Should it be the building owner? And a lot of it is kind of looking more like it should be the building owner. They're the one that pays for all this, the water and the sewer, the water and the light, and etc. So anyways, that was a lot of stuff about that. A lot of talk about backhaul. And one of the things that's interesting, you probably read about this, is this new bill. I don't know I can't remember what the technical name of it, but the unofficial name is called Dig Once. So it's any federally funded highway. They're trying to get it so when the highway is laid down, the conduit, for the fiber is already laid underneath it, so they don't have to come back 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later and say, "Hey, now we need to dig all this stuff up so we can lay the fiber." A lot of talk about future-proofing the buildings, so integrating the conduit into the architectural plans. And then Jonathan Adelstein was talking about how the fact that the One World Trade Center, so this is the one giant building that replaced the two, Tower 1 and Tower 2 that came down in 2001. And what he was saying is, this building is a pretty modern building, obviously, right? And what he's saying is that there was no future proofing done in terms of indoor DAS systems. There was nothing done in preparation of that. So it's kind of a wake-up call for us in the industry that, hey, you guys, you really need to focus on this while you're designing the building. There was also a lot of talk about the vendors pushing the carriers to share infrastructure. So right now, an average DAS has about 2.2 carriers on it. So they're trying to push for more. They're trying to push for the carriers to join together with the biggest cost is in the backhaul. So having everyone join in that. And then they talk about the fact that there are some multi-carrier IDAS solutions that are already out there by the OEMs, etc. So it's coming, and they're just a little push to make a little bit more of that happen. I'm getting almost done here, you guys. So IoT, a lot of talk about the Internet of Things, and Jonathan was basically talking about how the impact not only in wireless. We know what's going to happen, right, with us, right? The need for us in wireless infrastructure is going to go absolutely crazy with IoT. I think Jonathan used the word staggering, but the effect on wireless infrastructure industry and other industries is going to be absolutely phenomenal. well, in terms of IoT, right? So M to M is now called IoT. I think we're all in agreement of that one. So connected cars obviously going to be huge, and then how AT&T is kind of taken lead dog in that role, and then how it's going to be effective with smart cities and hospitals and buildings, etc. A little bit of talk about SDN and how it's a key to HetNet deployments. And then the last theme I want to talk about is just kind of the impediments, right? I think we all agree that the DAS and small cell build-out has not gone as fast as we all thought it was going to, or think that it should maybe. So what's kind of slowing that down? Obviously, one would be the cost. A lot of that in the regulatory, municipalities, et cetera, trying to get zoning and et cetera. And what he talked about was that in Japan, right, and this I guess relates to the fact that Sprint is supposed to be, deploying 70,000 small cells, and how easy is that going to be? And what Jonathan was pointing out was, so Masayoshi-san did it really, really well, obviously in Japan, but in Japan it's a totally different world. He called it like an automatic right to just build stuff, put it on buildings, etc. And in the United States, that's not the way we roll. We've got the regulatory requirements, we've got the municipalities, we've got the NIMBY, right, not in my backyard type of thing. So he referred to it as more of a daunting task. Jonathan also talked about the potential labor shortage, right? So people that know small cell and DAS from a technological perspective are not as much as maybe that know the macro. So there's like a lot of redos that have to be done because things are not connected correctly or whatever. And what he's talking about is with the limited number of people that know DAS and small cell, how if all this carriers, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, all start spending at once on DAS and small cell, how there's going to be a labor shortage basically. So that was that, you guys. Let me get to Mark's speech. I'm just going to cover a few things really, really quickly, and then kind of tell you where you can find a little bit more information. So Mark's biggest thing that he talked about was the fact that there is no way around the boom that's coming in DAS and small cell, right? He gave a figure about how many macro towers would have to be built to keep up with the demand that is happening currently, is going to be happening by 2020, et cetera, and beyond. So it's got to happen. He also talked about how, remember I talked about how M2M is now called IoT, Internet of Things. He also talked about how DAS, that's the old word, and the new acronym is DNS, Distributed Network Services. So I talk to people every day, and they're still calling it DAS and small cell, but I wouldn't bet against Mark. So just keep that in mind, right? DNS, Distributed Network Services. One of the things I really loved about Mark's speech was he talked not only from a technological perspective, but about a money perspective, right? And my dad always told me when I was growing up, Paul, if you want to figure out what's really going on in this world, follow the money. Follow the money. So anyway, so he talked about that, and he talked about following the money. He called it capital inflow. So this is private equity, venture capital, investment banking, etc. Where are they putting their money? So where they're putting their money is data centers. They're putting their money in fiber. They're not necessarily putting their money as they were as aggressively in the macro world, although there's going to be incredible build out, as he put it, in from 2016 to 2018. Macro towers are going to be a ton of growth as well. He talked about REITs, right? Real estate investment trusts, and how this is becoming a kind of a universally adopted model. So American Tower is a REIT. Crown Castle, Digital Bridge, Mark's company, they're a REIT. SBA is the only one that's not a REIT yet, but they're going to be a REIT. So once again, that's kind of, like I said, going to be the universally adopted model. He talked about by 2020, there's going to be 12,000 small cell locations. There's going to be 130,000 nodes. Talked about how Verizon was he calls them a thought leader. So how Verizon was a thought leader on the macro side, right? Can you hear me now? They've always been, our system is the best, basically. And they were the thought leader for macro. They're going to be the thought leader in the small cell and DAS, or the DNS world. And what Mark is saying is the others have to follow, right? So Sprint and T-Mobile, AT&T, they can't not follow. They have to follow. Speaking of AT&T, Mark talked about how the fact that everyone's kind of busting AT&T's chops for not spending money here in the United States for their build out this year. And what he's pointing out is it's not like AT&T guys are out golfing and not doing anything and not spending any money. Actually, he's saying they're spending more money in 2015 than they have done in 2014 and 2013 and 2012, which is a very aggressive build out years. But where have they been spending it? We know where they've been spending it. They've been spending it, 48.5 billion for DirecTV, another 18 billion for the AWS3 auction, another 4.4 billion to buy Nextel Mexico and Usacell in Mexico, and then another 3 billion to help with the LTE build out in Mexico. So they're still spending money. It just hasn't been in the United States. But what Mark was saying is, and this is echoed by his buddy Ron Bizik from Tarpon Towers, who says it's going to be the perfect storm. So in 2016, the vision is that all carriers are going to be spending on wireless infrastructure in 2016, and it's going to be and beyond. It's going to be a great ride. The very last thing I want to tell you about Mark's speech is he talked about, this is back to the money side, is why is ComIntra, right, communication infrastructure, why is ComIntra still a very good bet? And you guys, I was going to try to kind of get what was in Mark's brain and get it from my brain into your brain, and I'll tell you, it would not do as good a job as he did. So he did. So you guys, what we did is we posted Mark's speech from HetNet Expo on our LinkedIn group. It's called Telecom and Wireless, so Telecom A&D, Telecom and Wireless Global Network. We're going to post it on there. I highly suggest you watch it. It's in 2 parts. It's worth every minute of it, you guys. So check that out if you want to figure. I mean, like Jonathan Edelstein said, if you want to figure out where the industry is going and where the money's going and how things are going to happen, follow Mark Gansey. He'll tell you there. He'll tell you where it's going, and he does he's just great about. He's just great about sharing what he knows, and he's not worried about keeping it to himself and stuff like that for Digital Bridge. He's sharing it with the entire industry. It's awesome. So give it a look. For me, next thing, if I can afford the time, we're a little bit busy at the moment, is LTE North America in Dallas, November 17th through 19th. So hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. But for right now, I hope this was helpful. I hope hopefully you found something that you didn't know. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.